Listen, I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound absolutely insane, but it's happening right now. And if you don't understand what's about to go down, you're going to lose money. Serious money. Starting February 1st, brand new tariffs are set to go into effect across Europe. Not because of some economic dispute, not because of trade imbalances, but because the United States wants to acquire Greenland. Yes, Greenland. That giant ice-covered island that most people couldn't find on a map if their life depended on it. I'm Kevin Hu, and I've been analyzing geopolitical risks and financial markets for 10 years. I've seen trade wars, I've seen tariff threats, I've seen political posturing that moved billions of dollars in a single day. But what's happening right now with Greenland is one of the most unprecedented geopolitical moves I've ever witnessed. And the media is covering this like it's some joke or political theater. But I'm here to tell you this is deadly serious. This could trigger a global trade war that makes the China tariffs look like child's play. Before I break down exactly what's happening, why Greenland matters, and how this is going to impact your investments, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash it. Because what I'm about to explain is analysis you will not get from mainstream financial media. They're going to give you headlines. I'm going to give you the real strategy behind those headlines. If you care about your portfolio, if you care about the stock market, if you care about gold and silver and the US dollar, you need to subscribe right now. And while you're at it, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me if you think Trump is a genius for pursuing Greenland, or if you think this is going to blow up in spectacular fashion. I want to know where you stand, because this is going to be one of the most controversial moves of his presidency. Here's the situation. Gold just hit an all-time high of over $4,700 per ounce. Silver is approaching $100 per ounce. The stock market is selling off. The US dollar is weakening. And precious metals are skyrocketing because investors are terrified. Why? Because the world's largest economy is threatening its own allies with tariffs unless they hand over Greenland. And if Europe fires back with what they're calling a trade bazooka, we're not looking at a trade dispute, we're looking at a full-scale economic war between the United States and Europe. And you need to understand something. This is not normal. This is not business as usual. This is the United States demanding that Denmark sell Greenland or face massive economic consequences. And if you think this sounds crazy, you're right. It is crazy. But it's also happening, and it's happening fast. Let me start by explaining why Greenland is suddenly the most strategic piece of real estate on the planet, because most people see that viral map showing Greenland sitting between the United States and Russia, and they think that's the whole story. It's not. That map is misleading. The real reasons go much deeper. First, national security. Greenland is home to a major U.S. defense installation with roughly 150 American troops stationed there. It's considered a key early warning location for anything coming over the Arctic. Missiles, bombers, surveillance operations. If Russia or China wanted to launch something at the United States, we'd detect it from Greenland first. But Trump argues that this isn't enough. He's saying that if Russia or China ever tried to expand their influence in the region, the United States can't afford to be reacting after the fact. In his view, Greenland cannot realistically defend itself. Denmark cannot realistically defend it. And if the US doesn't take control now, rivals will take control later. Second, rare earth minerals. This is the big one that nobody is talking about. Greenland currently holds one of the largest untapped reserves of rare earth minerals in the world. We're talking about minerals needed to make electric vehicles, AI chips, advanced electronics, military hardware. Everything that runs a modern economy requires these materials. And right now, China dominates this sector. They control over 70% of global rare earth production. They've weaponized it in the past by restricting exports to countries they don't like. And if tensions escalate between the US and China, which they will, China could cut off our access to these critical materials. But if the United States acquires Greenland, that changes everything. We'd have mineral independence almost overnight. We wouldn't need China. We could supply our own industries and sell to our allies. This would shift the global power balance dramatically in America's favor. Third, Arctic shipping routes. As climate change melts Arctic ice, new shipping routes are opening up that could cut travel time between Asia and Europe by weeks compared to traditional routes through the Suez or Panama canals. If the United States controls Greenland, we control access to these routes. we become the gatekeeper of one of the most valuable trade corridors on Earth. So when you put it all together, national security, rare earth minerals, and shipping routes, Greenland is not some random ice island. It's one of the most strategically valuable pieces of territory in the 21st century. Trump understands this. His advisors understand this. And now you understand this. But here's the problem. Greenland is currently a semi-autonomous territory under Denmark. And while the US has had military presence there for decades, obtaining ownership would be a historic shift in international law and the global world order. You can't just buy a country in 2026. Or can you? On January 17th, Trump made his move. He accused European allies of sending troops to Greenland for purposes unknown. And in response, he announced a brand new phased tariff plan that would go into effect February 1st. Not against China, not against adversaries, against our European allies. He presented a 10% import tax on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. And here's the kicker. If an agreement isn't reached by June 1st for the acquisition or purchase of Greenland, the tariff increases from 10% all the way to 25%. Think about that for a second. The United States is threatening its closest allies, countries we've had mutual defense treaties with for 75 years, with massive tariffs unless they agree to sell us Greenland. This is not diplomacy. This is extortion on a geopolitical scale. Trump's argument is simple. These countries benefit from U.S. military protection. We spend more on NATO than all of them combined. We've defended them for decades, and if they're going to block a deal that's essential to American national security, they should feel the economic consequences. But Europe is not taking this lying down. They called it completely wrong and unacceptable, and threatened retaliation of their own. They're calling it the trade bazooka. This could block American access to European markets, impose export controls, and undermine transatlantic relations that have existed since World War II. France's finance minister said, "We are living through uncharted territories. We've never seen this before." An ally, a friend of 250 years, is considering using tariffs as a geopolitical weapon. Germany went on record saying a line had been crossed. You'll understand that today, I'm not saying exactly what will happen, but one thing must be clear. Europe must be prepared. This is serious. This is not political theater. This is the United States threatening economic warfare against its own allies, and the consequences are already playing out in real time. Let me explain what's happening in the markets, because this is where it gets really interesting. When the world's largest economy threatens its own allies with a trade war, investors don't take chances. They move money out of risk assets and into safe havens. They stop asking which companies are going to grow and start asking how to protect what they already have. Gold jumped to an all-time high. Silver followed. Why? Because precious metals are insurance. When uncertainty spikes, when geopolitical risks escalate, when major economic powers threaten each other, investors buy gold and silver. It's been this way for thousands of years, and it's happening again right now. At the same time, the stock market is selling off. Why? Because once tariffs enter the equation, investors start asking which companies are going to get hit first. The biggest losers are companies most reliant on cheap imports, international supply chains, and European customers. When tariffs go into effect, costs go up. Companies either absorb the losses themselves, which hurts earnings and causes stock prices to fall, or they pass costs on to customers, which reduces demand and also causes stock prices to fall. Either way, shareholders lose. European companies are particularly vulnerable. If Europe retaliates with their trade bazooka, we could see costs increase across automakers like BMW and Mercedes, luxury goods like LVMH and Hermes, industrial manufacturers like Siemens, and pharmaceutical companies like Roche and Novartis. These are massive, globally important companies, and they're all at risk. But here's what really concerns me. The US dollar is weakening. In normal times, when there's uncertainty, money flows into the US dollar as a safe haven, but not this time. This time, investors are watching the United States threaten its own allies. They're starting to wonder, if the US is willing to destabilize relationships with Europe over Greenland, what happens when the disagreement is even bigger? This is causing trust and confidence in the United States to erode. Our dollar is purchasing less every year you hold it. And once people start losing faith in our system, money flows out into alternative assets or other countries. This is how empires lose reserve currency status. This is how global power shifts, and it's happening in real time. So let's talk about what's actually going to happen here, because there are really only three possible outcomes, and understanding which one is most likely will help you position your investments correctly. Option 1, the US purchases Greenland outright. In this scenario, the United States pays Denmark some massive sum of money. Denmark signs the deal. The deed gets transferred, American flags go up, Greenland becomes the 51st state or a US territory. But here's the problem. Even if Denmark agrees, which is highly unlikely, the people of Greenland have to agree. The Danish constitution requires a referendum. The 70,000 people who live in Greenland have to vote yes. And polling suggests they don't want this. They value their autonomy. They don't want to become American. So realistically, I'd say the probability of this happening is less than 10%. It's possible, but it's not likely. Option 2. The US gets control without ownership. This is the most realistic scenario. Even though Trump says we have to have it, that doesn't necessarily mean ownership on paper. It could mean military expansion, mineral agreements, Arctic bases, strategic control, long-term leases. Basically, the US controls Greenland in everything except the title. Think about it like this. The US doesn't own Guantanamo Bay, but we control it. We have a lease that gives us operational control. We could do the same thing with Greenland. Sign a 100-year lease for military bases and mineral rights. Pay Denmark some amount annually. Get everything we actually need without the political complications of ownership. To me, this is probably what's going to happen. Trump gets to claim victory. He gets the strategic benefits. Denmark saves face by not technically selling their territory. And Greenland's people maintain some level of autonomy. Everyone wins. Sort of. I'd say the probability of this outcome is around 60 to 70%. This is what I'm betting on. Option 3. Nothing happens and everyone moves on. This is also entirely possible. We've seen this playbook before. Trump makes an outrageous demand. Everyone freaks out. Markets sell off. Then after a few weeks, some minor agreement gets signed, Trump declares victory, and everyone forgets about it. Maybe the US gets expanded military access. Maybe we sign some mineral exploration agreement. Maybe we get absolutely nothing and Trump just moves on to the next thing. This has happened repeatedly over the past year. I'd say there's maybe a 20 to 30% chance of this outcome. It's definitely possible, but given how much political capital Trump is spending on this, I think something substantial is going to happen. Let me show you something that's going to blow your mind. There's an analyst on Twitter who broke down Trump's entire negotiation strategy into 13 steps, and it's been incredibly accurate. Here's how it works. Step 1. Trump posts a cryptic message signaling tariffs on a specific country or sector. Step 2. He announces a large new tariff that catches everyone off guard. Step 3. Over the weekend while markets are closed, Trump doubles down. Step 4. Other countries respond or double down on their position. Step 5. Sunday night, stock market futures open lower. Step 6. When markets open Monday, Trump applies even more pressure, causing stocks to fall further. Step 7. After a few days, investors start buying the dip and markets begin recovering. Step 8. The following weekend, Trump posts that discussions are underway. Step 9. Sunday evening, stock futures open higher as optimism increases. Step 10. The Trump administration announces a new agreement is in the works. Step 11. Over weeks or months, more progress is made. Step 12. A trade deal or resolution is finally announced. Step 13. The process repeats with a different country or issue. Does this sound familiar? It should, because we've seen this exact pattern play out with China, Mexico, Canada, and now Europe. It's theater. It's psychological warfare. It's a negotiation tactic designed to extract maximum concessions while keeping the market on edge. And here's the thing, it works. Trump gets what he wants. Markets eventually recover, and everyone acts like the crisis was averted. But the reality is, it was never really a crisis. It was always just negotiation theater. So knowing this, how should you position yourself? What should you do with your money right now? Let me give you the strategy I'm using based on 10 years of analyzing these situations. First, understand that short-term volatility is guaranteed. Markets are going to swing wildly over the next few weeks. There will be panic selling, there will be relief rallies, there will be headline after headline moving markets by hundreds of points in a single day. If you're a short-term trader, this environment can be profitable if you know what you're doing. But if you're a long-term investor, which most people should be, this is noise. This is distraction. This is the market freaking out over something that will probably be resolved within a few months. Second, the rally in gold and silver is real. When geopolitical uncertainty spikes this dramatically, precious metals are the first place money flows. Gold at 4,700 is not cheap. But if this situation escalates, if Europe actually fires back with their trade bazooka, if we enter a full-scale trade war, gold could easily hit 5,000 or higher. Should you buy gold at these prices? That depends. If you have zero gold exposure, adding 5 to 10% of your portfolio makes sense as insurance. If you're already heavily allocated to gold, I wouldn't chase it higher. But don't sell either. This rally could continue for months. Silver approaching $100 is also significant. Silver is more volatile than gold, but also has industrial applications. If trade wars escalate and supply chains get disrupted, silver could outperform gold significantly. But it can also fall harder when things calm down. Higher risk, higher reward. Third, the stock market sell-off is a buying opportunity if you have patience. Yes, stocks are down. Yes, uncertainty is high. But here's what history tells us. Every single time over the past year when markets sold off on tariff threats, they eventually recovered. Every single time. The companies getting hit hardest are those with heavy European exposure. German automakers, French luxury brands, European pharmaceutical companies. If you believe this is temporary theater and not a permanent trade war, these are the names to buy when everyone else is panicking. But don't try to catch the falling knife. Don't buy the first dip. Wait for signs of resolution. Wait for Trump to post that talks are progressing. That's when you start buying. Not now when uncertainty is at peak levels. Fourth, watch the US dollar carefully. This is the most important indicator. If the dollar continues weakening despite Fed policy supporting it, that's a red flag. That means global confidence in US leadership is eroding. That means investors are genuinely concerned about America's reliability as an ally and trading partner. If the dollar breaks key support levels, you need to diversify out of dollar-denominated assets. Maybe into foreign currencies, maybe into commodities, maybe into assets that hold value regardless of what any single government does. And fifth, don't panic. Don't make emotional decisions. Don't sell everything and hide in cash. This has happened before. It will happen again. Markets hate uncertainty, but uncertainty eventually resolves. And when it does, markets recover. Now let me give you some context that the media is completely ignoring. The interest in Greenland is nothing new. Back in the 1860s, Andrew Johnson attempted to acquire it with the intention of encouraging Canada to join the United States. That failed. In World War II, the United States applied the Monroe Doctrine to set up troops in Greenland when Denmark was occupied by Germany. We needed it for strategic military purposes, and we got it. In 1946, President Truman offered $100 million in gold to purchase Greenland outright. Denmark declined, probably because it was a lowball offer. But the point is, multiple presidents have tried to acquire Greenland over the past 150 years. And it's not crazy to purchase territory. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson bought huge tracts of land from France for $15 million in the Louisiana Purchase. In 1867, Andrew Johnson paid $7.2 million for Alaska from Russia. In 1917, Woodrow Wilson bought the Danish West Indies for $25 million, renaming them the U.S. Virgin Islands. So the idea of purchasing territory is not unprecedented. It's actually how America became the size it is today. We bought most of our land. We didn't conquer it like traditional empires did. We negotiated and paid for it. The difference now is that it's 2026, not 1867. The world operates differently. International law is more established. And you can't just buy a country without the people living there having a say in it. But Trump knows this. His advisors know this. So the real question is not whether he can buy Greenland outright. The real question is, what deal can be structured that gives the US what it needs while allowing Denmark and Greenland to save face? Let me talk about the implications that extend way beyond Greenland and tariffs, because what's really happening here is a fundamental shift in how America conducts foreign policy. We're moving away from traditional diplomacy and alliance management toward purely transactional relationships. For 75 years, American foreign policy has been built on alliances: NATO, the European Union, the transatlantic relationship. We defend our allies militarily. They support us economically and politically. It's been mutually beneficial. It's kept the peace. It's created prosperity. But Trump's approach is different. He's saying, what have you done for me lately? If you're not paying your fair share, if you're blocking deals I want, I'm going to use economic weapons against you. This is transactional foreign policy, and it's controversial. The risk is that allies stop trusting the United States. They start hedging their bets. They build relationships with China. They develop independent military capabilities. They create alternative trading relationships that bypass the US. And once that happens, American influence declines. The dollar's reserve currency status weakens. Our ability to project power globally diminishes. We become just another country, not the global leader. Now, maybe that's fine. Maybe America should be more focused on domestic issues and less involved in global affairs. That's a legitimate political position. But it comes with costs. And those costs include loss of economic privilege, reduced security, and diminished global influence. Is it worth it to acquire Greenland? Maybe. If the strategic benefits are as significant as Trump claims, then maybe disrupting alliance relationships is justified. But it's a huge gamble. And if it goes wrong, the consequences will be felt for generations. Let me give you my final assessment after analyzing geopolitics and markets for 10 years. Is Trump serious about acquiring Greenland? Absolutely. Is he going to get it? Probably not in the way most people think. What's most likely to happen is some kind of expanded military and economic agreement. The US gets more bases, more mineral rights, more strategic control. Denmark gets money and maintains nominal sovereignty. Greenland's people maintain autonomy, and Trump declares victory. The tariff threats are negotiation tactics. They're designed to pressure Europe into making concessions they wouldn't otherwise make. And based on the pattern we've seen repeatedly, they'll probably work. Some deal will be reached. Tariffs will be dropped or reduced. Markets will recover. And in 6 months, everyone will have moved on to the next crisis. But here's what concerns me. Every time we use economic weapons against allies, we erode trust. Every time we threaten countries that depend on us for security, we make them question our reliability. And once trust is gone, it's incredibly hard to rebuild. So even if Trump gets what he wants with Greenland, even if this negotiation strategy works again, the long-term cost might be higher than the short-term gain, because America's greatest asset is not our military or our economy, it's trust. Other countries trust us to honor our commitments, to defend our allies, to operate within established international norms. And if we sacrifice that trust for short-term strategic gains, we might win the battle but lose the war. Because once the world stops trusting America, once they start hedging against us instead of relying on us, our power diminishes. And power, once lost, is almost impossible to regain. So here's what I need you to do. First, stop panicking. This situation is going to get resolved one way or another. Markets will calm down. Life will go on. Don't make emotional decisions based on headlines. Second, if you have zero exposure to precious metals, consider adding 5 to 10%. Not because you're betting on collapse, but because you're hedging against uncertainty. Gold and silver are insurance. And right now, insurance makes sense. Third, keep buying stocks if you're a long-term investor. Don't try to time the bottom. Don't wait for the perfect entry. Just keep dollar cost averaging like you always do. Over decades, these dips don't matter. What matters is staying invested. Fourth, watch the US dollar. If it continues weakening despite everything supporting it, that's your signal to diversify globally. Don't have 100% of your assets denominated in dollars. Spread your risk. And fifth, stay informed. This situation is evolving rapidly. New developments happen daily. You need to understand what's actually happening, not just what headlines say is happening. Now I need you to do something for me. If this analysis has helped you understand what's really going on with Greenland and these tariffs, if you see now why markets are freaking out and what's likely to happen next, I need you to hit that like button right now. I need you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I need you to drop a comment below telling me what you think is going to happen. Is Trump going to get Greenland? Are we heading for a trade war? Should the US be pursuing this at all? I want to hear your thoughts because this is one of the most consequential geopolitical stories of the decade. This channel exists to give you real analysis, not political spin, not media narratives, real understanding of how these events actually play out and what they mean for your money. If you value that, subscribe and hit the notification bell. The world is changing fast. Geopolitical risks are escalating, traditional alliances are being tested, and your portfolio is caught in the middle. But if you understand what's actually happening, if you see through the theater to the strategy underneath, you can position yourself to profit instead of panic. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking critically about these issues. Now go out there and make smart decisions about your investments because nobody else is going to protect your money. You have to protect it yourself.